I am very excited to be here because I'm going to tell you what I hope is a simple yet powerful story, the outline of which is as follows. There are a lot of problems in the world, and there are a lot of people who don't follow their dreams. If more people follow their dreams, there will be less problems in the world. Now, I'm not going to just leave you hanging. I'm even going to tell you the answer to this problem, which is pragmatic idealism, and luckily that's the title of my talk. For me, the story began when I was 15 years old, and I became an open idealist. See, around that time, I started reading poetry and learning about art and history and music, and the world seemed like this fascinating place where anything was possible. Yet at that same time, I was hearing that I needed to focus on AP classes, that I needed to focus on the SAT. But I was reading things like John Keats, beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all you know on earth and all you need to know. Well, who gives a shit about the AP test when you got that to fill your soul, right? And people started telling me, well, it's nice that you're an idealist now, but wait until your mid-20s and you'll become a realist, maybe even a cynic. All right, so now I'm in college, and it's even better now. I get to take my own, pick the classes I want, the teachers I want. There's a community of scholars. And about 2 years in, something started which I call the meat grinder paradigm. See, the meat grinder starts, and it starts grinding up your dreams. Because now you got to start thinking about paying off your student loans, utilities, rent, because that's 2 years off, but you got to start interning at Goldman Sachs. You got to start figuring out what you're going to do with your life. All right, so then I come to Brown, I get my master's, and at 23, I start Capital Good Fund. And what we do is we provide financial services to try to help people out of poverty. Now, my bachelor's is in Spanish, my master's is in environmental studies, and people said to me, what the hell are you doing providing loans? And I said, yeah, but it's my dream, so I'm going to follow it. Now, 4 years later, I'm 28 years old, and my organization is quite successful. And people tell me, well, you know, it's nice that you're still idealistic, but wait until you're 35 and you have a family. And what I've noticed is that I seem to always be 10 years ahead of completely reneging on my deepest held beliefs. So I think I'm going to be good. But what I've realized is that the problem is not with the ideals we espouse, but rather with the people who are unable to live up to them. Now, during the 4 years that I've run Capital Good Fund, I've seen so many young people come through our organization, because I use a lot of interns as a young, scrappy nonprofit without much money. I've literally had over 100 people come through, and they're all passionate and inspired, and it kills me every time I see one of them not pursue their dreams. And so the reason I'm giving a talk about pragmatic idealism is because that's the paradigm I feel that needs to be changed. So there are a number of myths that I would like to debunk for you. The first one is that you have to be an expert in what you do in order to be good at it, to have an impact. And I always like to point out that Jesus was a carpenter, Gandhi was a lawyer, and the people that brought the global economy to its knees were supposedly the best and brightest. And not to put myself anywhere near that pantheon, either for the good or the bad, but my goal in high school is to drop out and be a professional tennis player. Like I said, I have a bachelor's in Spanish, a master's in environmental studies. I've never made it past Algebra 1. I have no experience in entrepreneurship, economics, or finance. I run one of the fastest growing nonprofit financial service organizations in the country. Because what we need are people who have vision, who have an ability to adhere to their principles. We don't need experts. I guarantee you can always find someone who knows how to do graphic design, who knows how to do accounting or HR, and all that stuff that's important to build an organization, but we don't have enough leaders. Another thing that I often hear from the people who come through my organization is, well, all right, I'm going to take 5 years, get some experience, make some money, and then I'm going to do what I really want to do. And there's a couple of problems with that. The first one is that it's not going to happen. So you go and you become a junior analyst and then a senior analyst, and now you're a partner at whatever firm. And here's what happens. Making money is kind of like a suitcase. Your expenses are going to fill up the income that you have. And invariably, when it's time to pursue your dream, you're going to have to take a hit on your income. But now you've got a mortgage, you have 10 car loans, and you can't afford it. So it doesn't happen. There's another problem. Martin Luther King spoke of the fierce urgency of now. We cannot wait 5 years. Every year that goes by with a child that's uneducated, with climate change going rampant, with people going hunger, is decades of injustice locked in. We have to solve problems today. I like to think of it as having an urgent patience. Another thing that I hear from people that go through the organization is that I'm going to make a lot of money, and then I'm going to donate it. And this model is, in my estimation, a steaming pile of bullshit. Now, that's the technical term for it, so I don't want to get too fancy here, but it doesn't work. Because the model, the nonprofit model, whereby you take money from the people that cause the problem to fund your organization to try to solve the problem, is ridiculous. And that's what social entrepreneurship tries to solve, but I'm still dependent as a nonprofit on a lot of these not so scrupulous organizations. So if that model doesn't work, what model works? It's pursuing your dream and starting an organization today. See, 40 years ago, the model was that if you wanted to change the world, you had to be Martin Luther King, you had to be Gandhi, you had to be Mother Teresa. And the problem with that model is that it's not realistic. You can pedestalize those people, but it's very difficult to be those people. Nowadays, you don't have to be them. You can be Muhammad Yunus, you can be Jeffrey Canada. You can be all these people who make money. Yeah, they don't make $500,000 a year, but guess what? I get to go to sleep every night and come up with ideas that I get to implement in the morning, and I get to burn with passion for what I do. So $500,000 doesn't matter to me, and this is a model that you can pursue, and there are so many opportunities that you can, there are more and more opportunities these days to be a social entrepreneur, to follow your dreams, and to do what you really want to do. The third thing that I hear is that, the other model that I hear about that people tell me is that they need to, it's the ladling soup model, right? So I'm going to do what I do in my professional world, and then on the side, I'm going to volunteer. Problem is that ladling soup doesn't solve the problems that we face. In 1965, when the war on poverty started, the poverty rate was about 19%. Today, it's about 16%. In that interim time, there's been a tenfold increase in nonprofits, roughly, and a similar increase in donations. So clearly, there is not a correlation between more nonprofits, more traditional nonprofits, and better social outcomes. What we don't need are more nonprofits. We need more innovative nonprofits. What I say to people is, when you were a child, you didn't dream about making fighter jets. You dreamt about being a doctor or a scientist. So why is it that you graduate and you go and you design these fighter jets or collateralized debt obligations instead of designing microfinance loans that can move people out of poverty, instead of designing things that allow people to have clean water? So that's what we need. We need people who can use behavioral psychology, who can do data mining to better the world. Martin Luther King said, "The arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice." I'm going to go ahead and say that he forgot something, which was that someone has to do the bending. And if it isn't the people in this room, it will not happen. It does not happen of its own volition. Bad things will happen, but good things don't happen unless good people pursue them. And the fact of the matter is that we have all the technology we need, all the money, all the business models to solve whatever problem is out there. We don't have enough people who can implement those models. So what does it mean to be a pragmatic idealist? What it doesn't mean is that you're kumbaya, right? That you say, well, I'm just going to go out and every problem is going to be solved, because there's so many nonprofits that seem to operate on that principle, and as we've seen, that does not work. Nor does it mean that we should be cynics. And believe me, it's easy to get cynical when you see how hard it is to solve problems, when you see how messed up our political system is. Rather, what it means is that you combine pragmatism. I have to think about business models. I have to think about competitive advantage. I have to think about accounting systems and organizational infrastructure, because if I don't, my organization is not going to scale to the level of the problems. And just to throw out a little statistic here, in the wealthiest country of the world, America, 1 out of 3 Americans lives at either 150% of the poverty line or below in America. Okay? We've got serious problems. So pragmatic idealism is all about marrying the passions that you have to the pragmatic things that people tell you need to do, but that aren't aligned with your dreams. So I'm going to wrap up by just repeating this fact. There is no reason why you can't pursue your deepest passions. There is no reason why you can't change the world while doing what you love, because if we don't do that, we won't solve the problems and you won't lead a life that you want to lead. Thank you.